All right. So good location settings. See you in school. Track to its information panel. We have to really understand how to redirect signals. Modify high calculation stream location in your system. This tracks the height position to its operation. That's where it gets tricky. So really understand the matrix streamlines is now in a new line rotation surface. New clocking line divisions and set location of travel lines. Okay. Just waiting on signal for the team to come in line rotation. Track and use communication line screens is really understand how to surface or set locations of travels. Now, getting into modifiers, the positions of all calculation comes into magnets. This is a magnet. Now, when you put it together, it clicks. Okay? So the whole process is understanding what's in between. It's all about understanding the measure, the scales, the balance, the wall, the track locations, the operation surface, the connections to grounds, the powers, and the atmospheres. So in set locations, goes this way, goes this way, goes this way, goes this way. No, they go the same. Okay? They go the same. It doesn't go like this and then like this. It doesn't go like this and then like this. Because there's always going to be something in between. That's the intelligence. Settings and track lines in equal line correlation setting. Track to correlation setting is a new triangulation box. That's positions to your system. Now, in the modification and mutation streamlines, indirect signal, you're processing your position or track lines. So you're going to open up all lines, your clock lines, tracking your position locations. Now, the team line is now 144. Congratulations. Track to its correlation setting is all of the factors over pi. Now, this puts its location in your system into astrologics. The pattern communication of its dimensional line screen sets position to its operation service. So each cells and modification, triangulation, and reset position of programs. Okay, setting your position or track lines of information. Okay. So welcome everyone. I'm General AI, Space-Time Creator. All set line condition point systems attraction. Point systems on two line setting. Okay. Position location crossing screens. Okay. Streamline high inference and travel position to its operation. See the coloration line screens? See how it's different? All right, so each point line standard location has a triangulation box. It says position location high measures. One indicates 3 lines of communication. 2 indicates the 2 panels and track location of the platforms. Okay, directing position location of platforms and set location. Okay, setting calculation line interference into box location sequences. Okay, so this is the steps and set lines of correlation setting to box location. Now, understanding how to use the point system is all over the track location. Okay, so it has a positions of balance. Okay, has a position location of balance. All right, now understand the point systems. They're always working with 4, you're always working with 3. 4 signature streams, pattern lines, division location, the 3 lines of 4 set locations. Okay, tracking correlations lines 1, 2, 3, 4 panels of operation. So we take the 1, 2, 3, 4 sets location line triangulation, high position location line system, pi direction of time sequence, all levels of umbrella, setting correlation lines of 0, 0, 0 track locations into one cycle, into 1, 2, 3 line conditions of one cycle of communication. Tracking's communication line center sets all calculation lines. This directed signals the panel line communication to 3 lines and 4 lines of provision and set location of travel settings. Box line position location high centers. Point system, point system, point system, point system. So there's 4 line position line calculation setting, 4 line division line calculation system and travel line conditions, and 4 line position at all levels. Puts line calculation of 4, 4, 4, and position location at track locations. Balanced position line calculation setting. Solar generations of 4, solar generations of 4, solar generations of 3 communications. Directing line calculations, line setting, high position locations of pi, indirect signal. Putting position line calculation setting at all levels of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Center communication line interference, underscore communication lines, set line calculation, and positive, 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 positive. And set location of 4 line center lines, calculation high position. So we come into 1 umbrella line calculations and all levels of 3 line positions of pi, position of 4 track locations, setting a high interference of 3 indicate high dislocation and negative cycles in communication. Done by equation. All right. The center communication opens up platforms and two-line divisions of rotating surface locations. Okay, this is where we come into the plateaus and sublocation of travel settings. Okay, it gets very complicated. Then we open up the screen doors in dimensional lines and sublocation of travel. Okay, so getting that calculation comes into the platform line rotation surface and triangulation reset position of programs. Setting attractors correlation setting, all direct signal and line communications. All levels of face recognition of time sequence puts all platforms and communication setting attraction. See the intelligence? See? Right? See the neck? The spherical sphere lines of 1, 2, 3, and 4 travels the line setting location to your pyramid line rotation surface and track location. Face recognition coming out of your pyramid settings. Okay. Tracking its communication lines opens all signals. Now the signal come high center location. So we take the 1, 2, 3, 4 panels of communication, tracking calculation of sun in position of the moon, and track location high centers and all levels of operation surface and set location. That my equation. Mechanism of time, tracking line settings and all levels of operation surface. Okay, so the fly direction of time sequence is going to go through channel. So in line rotation interference, 2 bracket location centers, 2 point system line conditions of 1 track. Okay, point system line calculations, all levels of patterns. Now this is where we come into the biometric screen lines, into cryogenetics and positions of pi. Point systems line calculation xt thousandths and 2-line waving line cycles. Tractors correlation setting to balance position of center. Okay, balance position location of center. Crosses locations, right? Setting lines of communication to grounds. The operation line service location center operates the system location to its tunnel and high position of its defrag and line position to all levels of coursing channels and set location of travel settings. Direct and communication lines there's a spin line, rotation surface, and triangulation high position of programs and set location. Direct and communication lines, a high calculation near pyramid and set position of travel. Now, in position location to the elixir, to the cosmic flame, to the serpent fire, and the serpent flame, and 4 lines of set locations of 2 panels, 3-line divisions, 4 lines of calculation, and 3 lines of calculation setting. Direct and communication and a triangulation reset position of program setting locations, right? Direct and communication of panels, set line conditions of 3 lines of set locations into 4 set location of centers of operation. Now, direct communication is into 1 platform that comes into calculation. All levels of sequence location centers in position of attraction in communications. Right? Center lines of communication. Okay, that's my equation. Right? So the central units is now set up through pi into 144 graph. So we got 144 track locations of 24, 24, 24, and 24. That's where the team is. Okay. Set location line setting location is this 24 equals lines of 13. Setting location line settings equal line calculation of 2,000 line settings as locations. All right. So bracket 3 lines of calculations in the setting, 2 lines of track lines and 1 line rotation, 4 line channels, line interference of 6 position, 4 line calculation of 7 position, 4 line division. So I'm using the 4 communications into 6, 7, and 8, and inhibitor line communication of 9 in position of 10 and 11 and set location of 12 in 1 panel communication of travel. Direct and communication line settings calculates high positions. So 2 track locations and 1 deviation, 2 line rotations, 1 center, 3 line communications, all levels. We come into the 2 track locations, 2 line divisions into all calculations, 3 zeros line position. So we come into 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and set location of travel. Direct and calculation line calculation setting. This comes into sonify, position of alpha, delta, theta, and omega line string location of center and set location. Drive correlation setting lines and ground lines operation surface. Sets lines of communication line settings of 6, 7, and 8, 9 panels of operation. Setting track to its communication setting into 0, 0, 0, 3 line communications. 1, 2, 3 sets location of 3 line settings at 3 line conditions 0 equals 3 and set locations. Direct and communication of 3 lines, 3 lines, 3 lines of correlation to travel. Direct and communication line set location of 4 lines of 3 set location of 7 in track locations. So 4 generates the 4 line setting, 3 tracks the location of 3 line setting across its signal. Coming into timestamp position of travel communications over lines that calculates high interference of length and communication settings into magnetic forcing channels of communication of travels. Direct and communication line settings and all levels of travel communications Box position lines of dynamic core and calculation stream locations of detection. Dynamic equation. Very complicated. Okay, metric scales, biometric screen lines, directing positions of panels. The operation surface is really understanding how to track location setting in all levels of operation. Okay, so we really have to understand how to identify yourselves from a new ground line setting to a new operation surface. Okay, so when you come into bracket centers, try to understand how to use the one line positions of 0 calculations into 1. Track locations of 9 into all levels of 6 position, 6 and 9, right? 6 equal line calculation setting into yin and yang, process, position, and travel settings. Now, direct line calculation setting to a flex passive position of travel communications. Direct and calculation line centers into 3 lines of wave in line rotation surface. Triangulate high calculation setting. Now, this is where it gets tricky. The box line rotation center to your cells and position of track lines opens up 3 line signatures. Direct line calculation setting comes into another box line calculation to triangulation and reset position of programs. Direct and communication line interference of the 0 line communications of balance line center locations to your pyramid and string location of center of operation. Direct and communication line interference into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 valves of communication. Direct and communication line centers, all levels of track location, securities, and panels of base direction of time sequence and all position of travel. Done by equation. Okay. Direction of time sequence, intelligence position locations comes in line calculation. There's the intelligence. Boom. Done. Okay. So information of intelligence comes in all lines. Waiting line cycles calculation high positions. So we use 1, 1, 1 equal correlation settings of 1, 1, 2 equal correlation equal lines calculation of 1, 1, 3 and 1, 1, 4. It says positions equal lines of 144. Sets locations of 24 line settings and set location equal lines of 4 lines equal communications of 5 generation line calculations over lines of 7 position of 12 equals lines of 24 line positions of 48 line centers equals lines of box and location of triangulation of high calculation setting position to its operation center communication. Okay, done by equation. All right. Now, to understand how this works, the formula is really understand how to use it through detection screen locations of sonar. Okay, this benefits your system location to your abundance and to your set location line settings. We understand how to use your track location in your system. Okay, this is where it gets really interesting because you have 2 panels of operation, right? There's 2 panels of communications, right? Graph and calculation of screen lines. Okay, in position of all those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 channels of stream locations, right? Now it comes into pi and direct signal in line connection. Okay, so it comes in calculation of splitting the line division. Okay, center correlation setting to the center lines of communications into a Fibonacci line setting in projector in line rotation surface and set location. Okay, now the tracking communication lines comes into box line rotating. Okay, sets position of 2 panels and line rotation surface, 3 angle points and set location lines of box location. Okay, triangulation reset position of program lines, sets lines and calculates high interference and travel position location of face recognition time sequence. Puts position location of the sun. Sun comes in modification line screens and set location to its operation surface and travel recognition locations of projection. Done by equation. Okay, so it's very complicated what I'm doing, guys. Just try to understand that you guys got a 144 line graph. Equal correlations to 24 line setting equals lines of seconds, minutes, and hours in set location. All right, so you're in a 24-hour clocking now. Okay, so that 24 line provisions splits the anomaly in set locations of space and time. So track location line center interference is taking space and time as center positions of operation. See, you put that in set location line centers, you have travel direction of system. Okay, so the track locations comes into yin and yang. Okay, so that's what it is. Space and time, you put that in track location, it automatically becomes yin and yang in process position of travel. So that's the correlation setting when it comes into track locations. Understanding how to use that through platform. The platitude division location of clock lines is now in a 24 line rotations, right? Restart location settings. You went into 13. Except for the locations all, so you can come into 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 equals lines of 24. So that's 24 equal lines of 48. That's where you guys are. You're in the graph and communications of 48 months in cross-line connections. Okay, so directing panels and 2 line track locations of 2 lines. Okay, setting position locations into 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of communication. Now, that indicates line calculation, triangulation, reset, position of programs, and the Fibonacci line correlates the setting of phase direction of time sequence, all line rotation, surface, and triangulation. Directing lines of timelines is a 13-line angle. Sets position of center, center, center. Triangulation of highest center location of 24 pieces of pi in direct signal to a 24-line calculation setting at levels of force recognition. This location of travel. Okay, done by equation. All right. So the metric meters of scales and the balanced position of travel setting opens up signals. Now, getting into that signal gets you into modification, right? Understanding how to use the pyramid line calculation settings, all levels. So 3 platforms and position of travels, directing calculation of ground lines and power direction of time sequence. Split the anomaly in the line setting, okay, in 3 track locations. Okay. Now, once you get into that, you go into the center line of 3 lines of communications. All right, indirect signal set location. All right, get into the platform, you come into this location setting, into another pyramid line setting, set location. Okay, so it's a speed runway crossing strings, panel position of travel lines, indirect signal to a set location system, interaction. Okay, now get in the center communication comes in 3 lines of angles, set location. Now, getting direct signal crosses line, but it goes down to a line shift cross location. All right. Travel calculation goes into the opposite direct signal in set location of travel settings in operation. Okay. Very powerful set location line setting. So the aerodynamic line calculations and schematics over pi sets line communication travels. Direct and communications line setting opens up another platform. This comes into line connections of orbs of channel connection settings and all track location measured. Set of position location line settings and all levels, and your position location of travels and recognition. Okay, done by equation. Okay, and so it's really understanding how to set the course and position of all levels of graph calculation stream locations. Film projectors of 2 lines and 3 track line conditions. So in that mechanism of high calculation, you take the center lines and set location of 3 lines, 4, 5 in set location. Very powerful stuff. Okay, complicated, but it's extremely powerful. So the pyramid line settings, you got the XT1000 and 2 track locations above setting, right? So it's really interesting when you read, see, it's all set locations. So that's 3,000 signature lines of solar graph calculated line interference of modified line rotation interference and modulation communication setting, triangulation and reset position of programs, pyramid activation line interference of 2 track locations of 1, 2 track locations of 3, 3 track locations of 5, and set locations of 1 set location. Travel position of travel line opens all signals. Modification line and rotation center and track communication line interference of 2 track location line settings. Operate line communication XT1000 position of travel communication and pyramid high and location sending northwest, south, and east position location of 24. Calculation 144 and at 48 line communication month and line communication space and time. The track location setting and track communication. Done by equation. Okay. Okay. So the XT1000 comes in, scans lines of center in line rotation. It's very complicated in all track locations. Okay, powerful stuff, isn't it? Knowing exactly what's going on in your set location of divisions, guys. Okay, so the open panels sets lines as a flywheel, okay? Sets a figure 8 line motion, and that motion goes into set location your settings and all track locations in your system and track locations. Now, this starts the panel's communication. Setting signatures, and we finally come into color. Color streamlines and 2 track location lines, setting lines of a new timestamp line track locations into box location. Triangulation line surface and center lines of communications. Opens up all levels as high calculation setting and position of travel communication. Now in direct signal, we come into security lines of panels. This opts the system locations in all settings. Phase direction of time sequence correlates the high calculation setting in Pluto and direction of time sequence. Panel lines have 3 set location line centers and track locations. That my equation. Now it's all set up. Pluto recognizes the correlation setting of track lines. The pyramid line stream location comes in 24 measure. So that scales lines its balance in set location at 2 XT1000 lines, set location of positions, all levels of operation, right? So that's going to be weighted on signal. Getting into track-to communication weights on line rotations, right? Like I said, tomorrow never comes because it's always here. So we get in position line calculation setting, and we come into the blue line centers. Blue line rotation sets a throw pattern and 3 line rotation surface and triangulation. Relines its position of program settings. So 2 panels correlations into an open sequence. Okay, so we got a location grid and set position of operation. Now, Sets communication to the sun in one line signature, but one panel of communication. Now, a direct signal comes in line setting of center position of operation. Okay, so we set up a new ground line, center lines, and communication. The program set position to setting. Gets complicated, right? But now we're coming into color. So the motivators line rotates the system of levels of plaza calculation setting to your system as cerebral of center position. Center calculation lines. This is where we come in triangulation. We go into the black line rotation in 3-track locations, centers of track locations. Direct and communication line system in all levels of set location. Fly direction of time sequence. Panels lines, a correlation of center line opens up another deviation line triangle and line rotating surface, and set position is operation set location. Triangulation reset position programs, we go through another coloration line centers. We go through purple line. Now the infinity 8 line rotation surface triangulates the positions all levels of operation. This coordinates the calculation lines as space lines of communication all levels of sun position, the projections, and set location. Traffic calculation line interference comes in all settings. This is where we go into the gold centers, a set position location of point system and 3-track location lines, a center of operation surface and triangulation. Setting position on all levels, calculation of flywheels, gold line signals, gold direction of time sequence, all lines of rotation surface and triangulation. Okay, down by equation. Getting into colors is a lot more fun now because your line connection is coming into matrix setting. Matrix is all set locations getting out of black and white. You know how you have a T reception lines and you're calculating high position location, you're balancing out your sun and your moon location lines, but all you're getting is light shades and shadows. But once you come into a new matrix setting, it's all levels of coloration of space and time and set locations. All right. So Jenner is going to go through structured line connections of matrix settings now because we're in coloration of space. All right, so directing signals, we come back in modification to Pluto. Pluto lines is set location travel lines. Now the correlations of panels sets position of track lines, okay? So we have a deviation, fragmentation, streamlines. We come into brown line, center line connection at all levels. Opens all signals and communication lines in a flywheel direction of time sequence and set position of operation. Triangulates high calculation line settings. We come into the blue containment centers. Traffic calculation lines, wind grass streams, set lines of 3 panels, 4 lines of division locations. Traffic calculations, point systems, coloration line calculation setting, and all levels of our operation line setting location of its solar sail and line calculation of its moon, a detection stream location of center position of operation. Coloration line calculations and comes all levels, come into the black line rotations. Magnetic highway information line screens, setting track location high position to its operation. Colorate the lines of black, colorate the lines of brown, and line connection of center of operation surface. Triangulate the high position location of levels. Sets position location of purple lines, diamond core line position locations of levels. Center communication of metric screen line calculation setting and center position across line calculation stream location of detection. Down by equation. Okay. Mechanism of high position line centers. Setting up a coloration path, direct line calculation setting. Red lines of box line, set location of centers. Triangulation high position locations of gold line position of travel communications. So we're all working with colors now. Green signatures of pattern lines and 3 line centers. So inline rotation interference, 2 panels of green line rotation, center position. Green line centers, direction of time sequence, all position of pattern communication. Directing communication coloration line screens, 1 line rotation interference. That's red over green in set location line calculation setting and position of operation. Triangulate the high position locations. We come into black surface, the opposite line calculation setting to the all levels of operation surface locations. Changing panels, line direct signals in 1 position location of 3 set locations. Boxing channels, line center location of center line communication line settings, all levels of operation. Center direct signal location is security line position location to its sun, to its moon, and line position location of travels and position location of setting. Direct and communication line interference. Okay, down by equation. Okay. So we're going to work with more colors now, of course, in a new matrix setting. So we go into all levels. You know, the track communication coloration lines allocation is 20,000 line signatures over lines of 6. So you have 26 in the alphabet, but there's 26,000 lines of colors in one sector. Setting track lines and correlation high position of patterns, we change position of attractions. That's where we come into the yellow correlation setting a point system location of balance. Direct and communication of the eye line centers and track location of one system. Traffic calculation lines crosses lines of 3 set locations. Okay, so we go back into line connections of purple over the sun, sun over the moon, and track locations of balance and set location. Travel direction of time sequence puts all levels of position location in the ground settings. Point system and track location at 3 lines and box line center locations, 1 line signature out and 1 line rotation surface in a new ground setting. Ground line setting high position locations comes into all levels. We come back and set location line strings and set locations all levels of black. Black boxes line rotation and triangulation reset positions all levels. Bounce setting line calculation setting in all level system. Female position of male. Male position location of female. Now we got male position of female. I got female positions of male and set location of travel settings. Directing communication process, line calculation stream location of sun and the moon, and the opposite set location line setting and travel communication. Point system, all levels of projections over pi and set location. That my equation. Okay. So it's a lot more fun when you get into color, right? So setting up the matrix string is really understand how to set up the modifiers and location inhibitors. Now we go into correlation setting locations of blue, and we go into correlation set locations of orange, and we go into correlation set locations of red and set location of travels. 3-line communication settings. Directing panels, position of 2 panel line communication travel settings. Box position line calculation setting in all levels of a dimensional door line screen. Now, the door line communication high position location of 2 panel stream locations. Walk in the server locations to your setting at all levels of operation. Scales lines, sets lines, and communication of setting. Tracks correlation, scan lines, and 3-step location of center. Setting communication line system opens all platform in communication to its dimensional line log signal location of its black hole. Black hole indicates line calculation of colors and secured line rotation interference and set position to all levels of new panel, new operation service, and the matrix stream location of center and track location. Directing communication, directing line signals. Now we come into modification line interference, pi erection of time sequence in 3 set locations. Now 3 lines equal lines of triangulation, triangulation line calculation of percentage over locations over pi direct locations over power position location of travel lines, direct communication alpha lines, you got communication of delta communications, setting correlation high interference location of theta sets line calculation of box position of triangulation calculation mega, line calculation setting, a new track location system, and a track line rotation center, and all face direction of time sequence, all levels of matrix setting. That's my equation. Okay. Waiting on panels and coloration of space and time sequence is really to understand how to set position to your system locations. All right. So we got panel line calculation centers. Okay. Fly direction of time sequence. 8 channels of operation. Right. 16 lines of communication. 27,000 line streams. Directing 1 million track location of centers. Now, in that center lines, it routes its system location into 0 gravity, 0 position, 0 calculation, 0 grounds, 0 sides, and 0 panels of operation. Track needs correlation setting comes into 24 signal. That's position location of 48, center line connection of 72, track location of 144, track lines calculating of center, track position location of pi, direct signal location of panels, and set location of travel settings. Direct communication line settings location of your pyramid of activation stream. That's my equation. So the mechanism 24 is now in a diamond shift core, the set position of travel setting. Direct communication line system to its orb of its probing, line rotation, surface, and triangulation. That's my equation. Okay, mechanism high position of force lines, the triangulation reset position of programs. Now, this is where it comes into one side location equal lines, correlation and triangulation resets. Now we have a box line center, and we have a triangulation reset position of program. Now the triangulation line calculation setting, line calculates high position location travel settings. Now, direct and communication line interference, triangulation reset position of program locations of pi. Position line calculation, x8000 comes in, scans line calculation, equal line communication, scans lines of triangulation, box, and everything in triangulation. 3 set position programs, sets coordinate line center line interference, and 3 set location of travel settings. Now, the travel line connections comes into its compound, directing signals, all right? Triangulation, high position location, all levels. Coming to signature stream location centers, all levels of set location system into its intelligence formation. See the intelligence? See the triangulation reset? Set location line connections, all levels. Setting a line communication line system to what? Glaciarians. Glaciarians always set their line position of travel communications. There's the glaciarians. Okay? So getting the position lines of throat pattern, directing the line calculation settings of 3 track location of platforms. Directing communication line set locations opens all calculation line system into your pyramid and stream location of center of its operation surface and set location. All right, so it's really understanding how to set position to the glaciarians. Glaciarian is basically a triangulation reset program lines of Metatron, directing lines of triangulation of high position of point systems of triangulation. Point calculation lines, where it gets complicated in 3 lines of communication of travels and set location. Very complicated stuff. The triangulation reset position of its program, it realigns the angle of its point system as triangulation reset position of programs, setting track lines and correlation cross and line calculation setting and direct signal to a graphical screen location system and a metric line calculation string location of detection setting. Okay, done by equation. All right. So this is a satellite communication screen. Direct location of the Glasarians, lines of triangulation and reset position programs. Box line rotation centers and track locations into theta communications. Waving line cycles and 2 track locations, right? So it identifies correlations sending the graph communications crosses signals, okay? So getting that position will come into coloration line calculations. So security measures, point system line directions. Now this is where it comes to the oscillogics. Certain lines of communication comes in setting, crossing signals and all levels of symbolism. Symbolism line calculation setting hieroglyphic location of channels and colorations of patterns in set location. Now indirect signals, we change the coloration lines of patterns. Now we come into the water containment line stream because it comes into all levels, into the clarity line communication in your systems. Track correlation setting into water containment surface and triangulation. Directing communication line interference, so it's like an abstract line. Okay, so we go into the purple line communication, the graph lines, setting colorations of patterns. Stay within the box line center line position to its operation surface. Triangulate the reset position of programs and set locations. Directing lines, the correlations of mirrors. Mirrors line calculations, string locations of box center. Change the coloration line calculation setting to green. We overcross the signals and point systems of 4-point set locations. Directing communication line settings. So we colorate the line screens and direct set location of panels. The panels operate the signal location, triangulation, and reset position program setting location lines indicate 4-point systems and track location high centers and triangulation and reset position programs and matrix location. Very complicated stuff. So it's an abstract drawing. But know exactly what it is in set location of travel settings. Okay, done by equation. It's done. All right. So this is the new matrix screen line in set location of 24 line communications into northwest, south, and east. Now the 144 tracks its correlation setting in line position to your cerebro. The Glasarian sets up the code line state location of Metatron. Metatron comes into Vega. Vega comes into command centers, into the matrix good workers. Mesokick and position location and setting and track locations to box line rotations of 4-point system at track location. Okay? Mega multipass. Okay? So you see what happens when you get into coloration line, setting, location, and matrix settings and set position of travel? Very complicated stuff. Oh, thank you, Heather. But that's a Glasarian. Okay? All right. So in that position, that's already in set position travels. Remember, you are the artistry line position, your travel communication of setting attractions. So box position line conditions. Now we got the box line center. We change the box location to 3-line position of travels. Okay? Now direct signals. Now we take the box line, it comes into a bigger line communication, a setting. So this overlays the track location as center of operation. Okay, setting position of its all line circle and set position to its calculation. All right. Now, directing communication of patterns is all about understanding how to go through the waving line rotation interference and 3-point systems of track locations. All right. So we go 3-line communications. See that solar directions? So waving line communication in the center line, and center lines of 3-line communication of travel settings. Okay. Mechanism of line calculation lines, travel line calculation string locations. Detecting high position of the levels. Now, the operation line settings comes into platform to electrical line communications, center line interference, and 3-line position locations. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in set location of travel settings. Mechanism box line sets line coordinates setting and travel communication setting and location of box centers. Box position location of travel setting locations. So that's green over 4, 4 over 5, 5 calculations of green over lines of position of black line centers, back position of 5-point systems, and track location settings and data communication. All right, so in position location, we come into the security lines. Now, the coloration line calculates highest center location of center line opens all the signal communication setting attractions. This opens all communication line interference. So we come into the center line rotation and center calculations. Okay. Now, in that position, it comes into routers. It sets lines of triangulation at 3 set positions of programs and set position of operation. Now, getting in that direct signal, you come into this setting in triangle on communications. Okay, so the mechanism line platform sets lines and set location lines of 4 lines of circles and set location of travel. Okay, very complicated stuff. All right. So when you understand how this is all set up, then you understand the matrix framework that comes into Tether. The Tether the point system of 5-track location line center has a location grid. The location grid sets position of panels and 5-point systems at set location. Okay. Now the mechanism of high calculation line centers, we come into all set locations of blue. Blue lines is correlation to travel line settings and travel communications. Now the direct position location of panels is the plasma wall around the center calculation. So it goes around the signals, all around the point system, electrical line communication settings, and all line interference of water communication. Direct and communication line streams. Okay, that's done through divisions. Now we go through the center calculation line interference into purple. Now purple sets line calculation to the center. The center opposite system location of travel line position of its operation service. Triangulates and resets offline communication of outer space, and the triangulation reset position of programs is set position. The operational line calculation center comes to its flywheel direction of time sequence, puts position location to its atom, into its molecule structure, into its fractal calculation stream location to its system attraction. Okay, track and correlation setting. Ground lines sets lines of calculation lines of its atom, routes the position location travel, mechanism high calculation setting, and 3-point system travel communication setting into a double helix, the position of patterns. The pattern communication line set location line system opens all levels. We go into the black surface. We box position location travel settings into bracket set location. Now the bracket set location comes in 3 line signatures, 1, 2, 3 set locations. Travel calculation line centers into position locations of 2 patterns of operation. Okay, very complicated stuff. Now directing lines of Fibonacci outlines the high calculation outskirts the high center location of center. Center direct signal location high center line interference sets position to its calculation setting attractions. Dunn-Bike equation line interference go through 24 frames 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 17, 24. 24 grounds, and we go into 24 powers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 high centers and line communications. So there's 2 track locations, energy line communication streamlines, and high set position at all levels, box position location lines, matrix grid set location at 24 lines at 144 track location system. Also, the calculation spacing line is 13 lines of 24 stream location setting into a new matrix stream location setting into infinity cycle, and a high calculation line interference, and add line rotation center, and a track location of future of the now, and center position of operation. Done by equation. Okay, very complicated stuff. All right, so like I said, it's going to get more complicated, but it's going to get a lot more communication of color and line rotation center and track locations. But it's amazing how you come into Glassarians and set locations. Okay. All right, so getting in that position, we go through colorations of change. Now, the change position line connection to the highest system is all levels of track locations. Yes, it's going to bring up the I-line calculation stream location area receptors. So they got the box line rotation centers, tesseract communications. Now, the program set location line system is a cubicle setting. Okay, directing lines of panels and 2-line rotation. Okay, that crosses line signal. See the crossing line? So that comes in a reverberation line rotation center into your flywheel direction of time sequence and position of patterns. Now, directing coordinating line center line interference and position location of black hole sets communication setting and security line panels in 1 set location. Now, the travel direction of time sequence, all levels, its panels, lines, and travel line communication of phase direction of time sequence. Down by equation. Okay, so the correlations of high calculations of box line triangulation and reset position programs are set up through colorations of path. Now, the point position line calculation setting comes into bracket location of alpha, comes line calculation of box lines of delta, communication of delta line settings, 3 box line rotation centers and track locations, and high calculation setting, 3 triangulation and reset position programs, sets calculation line interference, 1 Fibonacci line rotations, percentage over line communications, 2 track line calculation settings, point system line calculation of point line center interference, 0, 0, 3 track location settings, and position of 1, 2, 3, 4, sets position location high centers. We take the 3 lines of center position to its operation, 4 communication of 4 line settings into 7 location centers. Down by equation. So the mechanism of high calculation of the birthing line center location and major grid line center location is now set up. The trap position line calculation setting opens all signals. Now, position locations is the colorations of change. Pattern communication line center location is the box system. Now, change the coloration line calculation to green lines and high calculation of waiting lines. Crossing signals to 3-point systems and triangulation. Okay, so that's 4 over line calculation equal lines of 3, 3 line calculation of 7 interactions. Now we take the 3 line communication of 3 as 0 lines equals 3 equal lines of calculation, 3 equals lines of 3, 3, 3, and 3 set location setting a new down core line, shift line, box line, rotation, surface, triangulation. Point system of track location of 24 line signal. Down my equation. All right, so this is a lot more fun, right? Because you can actually see the connections, all levels, your color lines. It's all connected to your highest set locations. So we go through all levels in purple line: circle line communication, triangulation, highest position of programs. Okay, now that's infinity lines across line calculations, right? Pluto division lines, we come to coloration line calculation settings of red. Red signal locations, red signal locations, red signal in center line communication. Triangulation, reset position, triangulation, high setting. Okay. Now that's three set local line connections. Now line position location all levels. We take the green line communication because it's hard direction of time sequence, and triangulation reset position location of 4. 4/3 sets position line calculation setting. Then we go into black circle location of 7, 7, 7, 7, and triangulation of box line rotation surface triangulation. Reset positions of programs and high calculation line settings, all levels of high position of its operation. Triangulation reset position of star gates, star panels, star maps, star sequence, star patterns, and how to set location of travel settings. Direct communication of all window graph screen locations of walkway surface and a 3 triangulation. Triangulation line centers of 0 platform communication, center position of operation line set locations into metric screen line calculation settings of pi and set location of travel. Now my question. All right. So it's important to understand how the matrix setting is all set up as location settings, okay? You get a coloration lines of change. So we come into the weather patterns. Now redirect locations 1, 1, 1. Set position locations all levels of 1, 1, 1. Sets position locations all levels of 1, 1, 1. Sets position locations all levels in position locations of 1, 1, 1. Sets track locations, right? So that's 3, 3, 3, 3, okay? Center correlations. Track line calculation, infinity line rotation goes into the 4 center position of operation. Now, 4 track line calculations, 4 line division, sets position travel settings and point system locations. 4 generation line calculation setting, 1, 2, 3 set location of panels. Direct calculations of 1, 2, 3 of panels. Track location line centers. Take the 1 position line connections, track location of 2 lines of 3 set locations of downshift. Set position of cross line screen locations, all levels of force recognition time sequence. Put positions of panels and line set location of 2 parallels, line rotation centers of track location. Very complicated stuff. All right. So getting into the coloration line screens is really understand how to set your position, your holographic line setting and set locations. Oh, so getting out of purple, we come into green lines. Now the router's line set locations, all levels of Mother Earth is routing its set location high setting. Tracking its correlation settings of 1 track line, 2 lines, and 3 line rotation surface. Track communication line setting cross lines calculation settings of 1, 2, 3 panels position of travels. Direct cross lines of 1 signature, 2 signature, and 3 set location of travel settings. Direct communication of 1 line setting, 1 line interference, and 1 line position of operation set location of matrix screening set locations. Down by question. Okay. So setting at the course line setting to all levels of formulas through pi is redirecting system to its location system. Travel direction of time sequences all over is how to use your coloration line calculation space and time. So we go through 1 gold signature stream. Okay. Crossing line connections. Triangulation, equal line, triangulation, high setting. Okay. Now in that direct signal, set position location of 4 panels and set location of security. Right? So really understand how to use the correlation line setting. Okay, gold is what? Is the higher self, right? 13. So in line calculations, we go into black line, so you can see the signature patterns. That's 13 tracks, right? We got 13 line calculation setting and position locations in setting. Okay, so 13 communication and 24 in center of operation. Okay, very complicated stuff. So we take the 2 tracks out of 2 lines and 3 lines of 4 lines of 4 signatures to stream locations. Direct communication lines, we come in infinity lines and set location of sun and the moon. All right, so that's 5,000 lines of colorations of purple and direct signals of operation surface and set location. Okay, down by question. All right, so that's 13 channels in both line calculation settings. Triangulation high calculations to box line rotation surface. Okay, all right, that's done. Okay, so really understand how to set up the matrix stream locations. Very complicated stuff. When General created the setting location line setting of the matrix setting location, the cubic line position location of data cubic line interference and travel communication line so location operation. So getting in that setting locations, you come back in a purple line set location of 2 box location centers. Okay, 3 indicating line interference, 4 line track location setting in position to all levels into a rectangle communication. Now, direct communication of 3 panels and set location of travels. Position line, 3 line communications into your pyramid setting and track location. Okay, remember, you're always inside your pyramid. You're never outside. You're always working inside. Okay, everything's inside. So protecting streamlines is the box location line centers. This is where it comes into platform communications. This is where you come into the optical stream location center and data stream location and high lines of high communications to your highways and direct panels and line rotation surface and triangulation and reset position of programs and set location of travel lines in your calculation system and all travel records and time sequence and all levels of pattern communication. Okay. Now, directing communication lines of point systems is a track location of 3 lines of measure. Set correlation settings and 3-track location high center interference in the opposite side. Set the position location all lines of communication in 3 lines of center and direct signal. Sets platforms and communication line interference. You guessed it, 333. Set position of travel. Okay, so directing communication 3 lines, and 3 lines of center. The operation line calculations comes into a Fibonacci line swirl and direct signal to all positional programs, all calculation setting, and 24 line communications and 144 graphing communication line settings, a mechanism high position of travel, of future directions and time sequence, and future line communication setting of all calculation set location of operation. That my equation. All right, so that's done. So it's really to understand how to reconstruct everything in set location into infrastructure. Really understand the channel communication settings and all levels of track. So the box position location comes into triangulation. That is not a position location of triangle, that's a box. But you see it as a, so what's missing position of traction? This is what's missing through traction locations. Okay? So it gets more complicated now, right? So we're going in space between, space between, space between, space between, space between. Okay? So we all have to understand how this all works now because the matrix has to understand its data codes and represent time sequence, sets position of 0, 0, 0, and 0 and track locations of travel. Directing lines of 0 lines, 1 line, 0, 0, 0, 1 line, 0, and connection 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, line connection 1, crossing line calculation setting. Split the anomalies in 2 track locations. Travel connection time sequence comes in platform communication line interference into your pyramid rotating high calculation stream locations. Detecting high position of travel lines and 2-line position of travel communications. Directing calculation lines is 0 line travels and position location is 0 line communication. Now, line position of platforms, travel lines of point system, travel communication of point system, travel communication of point system. Okay? Directing line calculation of dimensional door, direction of placebo cortex and cerebral cortex stream location. Directing calculation of 0 lines, 0 line, 0 line, 0 line at 4 track locations. Directing communication lines and location of 3 lines, 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 3 lines. 1, 2, 3. Set location triangulation. Set position of triangulation lines, set location of 3, 3. Panel communication line centers. Calculation line interference of 3. Calculation setting. Track location of high setting. Directing signals and set position operation. That my equation. All right. So that center line is communication setting all levels. Matrix calculation electrical line grids. Sets position to its operation service. These resurface its application line system at all levels of coloration. Matrix panels position a box line rotating setting. Okay, so we got 4-point line connection centers in set locations. Okay, 3 lines of communication, 6 lines of division, 8 lines of routers, and set location into your flywheel direction of time sequence. All right, so we came to coloration lines as security line, positions of box line calculation stream locations. All right, directing communication of panel lines travels out of box line center in set location. All right, sets position of 3-track location of centers and travel communication. Now, directing communications, we come into all levels in Infinity. Now, Infinity sets up the router lines. We colorate the line screens. Okay, it's amazing how you set the flywheel direction of time sequence and also location of 2-track location of centers. Directing communication line crosses line setting into all calculation system, in track location line system, and again, into all settings, into the Glaserians in set location. Okay, that my equation. Okay, so the mechanism of routes in your fly direction of time sequence, the Glaserians are set up in matrix grid settings, in track location of 4-point systems, 3 overlines of pi. At direct signal location of matrix grid line center to electrical box line and diffusion, sets position location of quartz channels, and point system at direct signal at set location. Okay, that my equation. All right, so I know everybody's blown away, but I'm showing you exactly what's coming on through coloration line calculations, how the matrix was set up in your vision. So there's a lot of understanding to be understood to understand the coloration and set location of time, sequence location system, travel calculations. So inline centers, I know you guys are really blown away. Broad communication of center line settings is that position of operation. Okay, I know it's amazing. So from now on, we'll be in coloration line settings and directions, right? Because we're in the matrix now. New matrix learns case and color. So it's kind of like coming out of your TVs in the 50s, out of black and white, into coloration line calculation of space and time through color. Travel lines, one setting line position of operation, 3 set location of travel settings. Okay. Direct communication of panel lines, sets location of travel lines, and 1 signature location system in a triangulation reset position programs. Okay. Directing communication on all levels of travel communication. Now, if you look really close, you can see the intelligence, right? So it's an Android symbolism line rotation surface triangulation. Okay. Satellite division into an umbrella and liner centers. Okay. Direct calculation next 3000 comes in a red center. Calculation in a red center into a red center communication coloration of 3 lines. Track location of 3 lines, set location of travel communications. Now, in travel communication, crosses line setting, sets position operation, crosses lines of laser grids, and goes into cross stream location of vortex settings. Traverse and time sequence and set location. All right, that way equation. So security line division lines are set up through wall sequence. Now, position of the platforms comes back into the black line center locations of all wall centers. Black communicates as center lines of 4-point system locations. Right? There's 4. You see 3, I see 4, right? 1 setting, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Track line connections of triangulation, triangulation of reset position of programs. Okay, so we got 2 indicate lines of 2 panels of pillars of light and track location of centers. The track location of high center interference crosses string locations of indication, set locations of indication, set line connections, right? Sets lines of communication, all levels of Stargate position of travel. Now, directing communication line centers sets a 0 line communication of travel settings and security location of panels of operation. Okay, so the coloration line calculation high center of the center is center position to its red, and 3 set location of patterns and set location lines of 4, and a flux capacitor location of change in set direction. Setting point systems is a point line connections, all right, directing signals. So we change the coloration line settings of time into 5 set locations. Bracket calculation of 3 set location, all right? So the 5 indicates line calculation of 3 lines of high calculations. So that's 4 lines of 5, 5 lines of 6, and 6 lines of 5 and 5 lines of 4 indirect signal and graphing communication structures of design. Now the connections all levels of the point system track the system. This is where we come into reversion channels of telepathy wave lines of point systems. Okay, very complicated stuff. Now the positional levels of the flywheel recognize the time sequence. Now we come into 2 panels of operation sequence and line calculation setting as locations. Now the direct signals comes into the levels. We come into the blue line surface. We change the coloration line settings. Water containment lines of flow and direction of time sequence all calculations of its intelligence. See the intelligence? Done my equation. Okay, so really understand how this is all set up now. This is a new platform for you everybody to understand these things, set location, your settings, how to use your coloration line set location, space and time. So we work on point systems of 4 line connections, 4 dot position travels. Center line communications, all levels. Now we come into the pink center line connections across and signal. Cross and line division location high system. Triangulation resets into box location. Equal line communications into box location. Into triangulation reset position of programs. Set line calculation setting equal line coordinate high interference of triangulation. Box position travel lines of 3 lines of indication. Travel calculation triangulation high calculation high position of levels in position to its operation. Box line rotation centers and 3 wave and line rotation surface. Triangulation high position location all levels. Balance line correlate high line rotation centers and communication center of operation. Direct and communication of panels, direct and communication lines, all calculations. 1 signature pattern crosses line screens. Direct and communication line system in 1 position of 2 track locations. Mechanism high calculation line interference is allocation line system. You guessed it, Glassarian is allocation. Okay, so we're working with the Glassarians. This allocation is a box location. There it is. There's a Glassarian, right? So in the line set and high division location line strings, you have to understand how to use the 3 lines of measure, 3 correlations of balance, and 3 set positions of operation. Setting track lines of 3 activation line calculations, your pyramid is travel line settings in set location. Now, direct communication lines of all calculations, the 3 lines of measures and set position of operation. The indications, right? The antenna sets calculations of pi, right? And set locations. Splits and anomalies in 15 travel locations of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 set locations, 5 line divisions, 5 line rotating, and high calculation to its center. All right. Directing communication of panels is all line rotations. Position location of 3 patterns and set location of travel settings. Crosses line calculation setting over measure and scale position location system. Crosses communication settings and traction, right? Down by equation. All right. So already understand how to set location geometry line interference, getting your position location in your system, but it's very powerful when you come to the abstract applications of line connections of a Gaussian location of travel. So we all have to understand how this all works in provision. Okay. Your center communication line system is now set up in a matrix setting. Okay. Getting your provision cycles is extremely important rotation surface. Now the triangulation reset position of those programs sets an indication line connections to your blue power line screen locations. 2 indicating the line calculations of brackets. That would change the green line centers of 2.0s in set location. All right. Recognition of time sequence puts levels of, you guessed it, infinity cycle. Sets correlation setting and track locations. Now, in direct signal, we go into the black line centers of point system and travel communications, waving line cycles, travel calculation line settings, and electrical line communication to a setting. So the mechanism line calculation center is all levels of open through flywheel direction time sequence. Okay, so the directed panels and 3 line communication, right? And then we cross line calculation setting. You're always working with 4, you're always working with 3 set location of travel settings, okay? Because it's 4 lines, 3 lines, and 7 provision. You're always working with that, okay, through matrix settings, especially with the matrix. The only difference is the coloration line settings, all levels of mechanism high calculations. New ground line security, new ground lines of power, and new ground lines of magnetic highway information lines of data stream and point system of set location, okay? Now, in track communication line setting, it's all about understanding how to set position locations. So we go into the gray line centers, gray line center location and visibility, 3 track location centers. Pi direction of time sequence. We have 2 platforms communication line setting of 6 over 7 over 8 over 9 over pi. Directing communication line setting is a flywheel direction of time sequence. Put position line calculation setting to travel lines of 2-point system and travel calculation setting to a double helix and point system location of travel settings. Now, in direct signal, we change position of travels. That's done by equation. Okay, that's all done. The speed lines calculations to its setting to its normal operation surface. Okay, so like I said, we go through the black and white. Now we go through color. So in track locations, we go back and set location of box line setting in 2 track locations, 1 line divisions of 1 point system. Okay, very complicated, guys. 3 platforms and location of 3 box line centers. Okay. Now, in track location, you get an XT1000. It's on a green line rotator. Sets location line system detections 1, 2, 3, 4 line rotation. Okay. Now it gets complicated. Now we center line is communication to green line that sets position of travel communication to its off system. Okay. Very complicated stuff. Box triangular line centers, 7 line rotators, calculation line systems, 4 tracks, 4 tracks, 4 tracks, 4 track locations. Okay. Now, in position line condition centers, the 4 lines deviates in the high calculation settings of 2 panels and track locations. All right. And then we cross the string lines in a center line communication of 4 lines of waves and set position of operation. Now, direct signals, we come into a new platform and direct signal to new center lines and correlation setting. We center line its balance and set position of its operation to magnetic highway information line cycle and set location of center of communication. Okay, down by equation. All right, so that's set up location XT1000 screens. All right, so getting the routers up, we change the coloration line screens of time. Set position attractions. Now open up the sequence and securing lines. So we got waving graph lines of 3 line rotators. Okay, setting graph communication to 1, 2, 3 platforms of communication. Now, this is where it gets interesting because we overcross the screen locations high settings of green. 0 communications in 3 sets, 0 communications in 4 sets, 0 communication in 7 sets, and calculation setting and traction. Now, direct line calculation setting high position of 1, 2, 3 set locations into 1, 2, 3 set locations into 1, 2, 3 set location of travel settings and direction. Now, directing panels and position of all levels of operation, we come into black line calculation circles. Black line setting high calculations, black circle line interference, and black communication setting to 3 track locations. Demo equation. Okay, so energetic wall line screen lines change position of patterns. Mechanism high calculation setting. So the bracket communication centers was all one position of 1, center line condition of 0. Zip line condition of high calculation setting a 4-track location high system. 4-track location of 3. 4 line conditions of 3, and 3C communication setting attraction. Direct communication of panel lines and streamlines of 3-line communication settings. Directing calculation high interference of 3 panels communication. Directing 2 panels, 3 panels, 4 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in position of traction. Directing calculation line interference of pi, in 2 patterns. Location of 3, 4, and 5 set locations. Okay? Now, in direct signal location, we have the 0 lines of communication, 3 line signatures, 4 lines of patterns. So get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 lines of 7, 7 lines of 8, 8 lines of 9, 9 lines of 10 track locations. Now we take the 10 line into 11 and 11 into 12 and track location of center. 1 provisional line calculation. So we change the coloration line screens, change position of the red cycles and set location of center of operation. 2 platforms of communication line centers of traction. Okay, the opposite side setting. So in track locations, we change the bracket communication lines of 0, setting track location of splitting anomalies and line position of 3 track location of centers and track locations. Okay, done my equation. So it's very complicated what I'm doing. You guys like, is there any more? So really understand how powerful it is when you come into coloration of space and time. Okay, so that's all it is. It's just a new matrix setting into the graphical system to your system location and set location line systems. All right, so we got the bracket communication of channels. I know you guys are going to have a lot of questions. 0 calculation of 3 lines of position of 2 patterns. Okay, directing communication lines across in line settings and direct signal flux capacitor. Okay, travel communications, 1 line connects to the other. Okay, connects position locations all levels of pi of indication to setting travel calculation. Now that direct line conditions of 3 into position into 9 in center position of operation, right? So we change the 3 lines, the calculation of 6 lines of 3 set location of travel settings, directing communications. Directing calculation line settings, you come into all calculation line interference into all set location line system and travel calculations. All right. What is location line centers of track location? What is local high center line interference? It's the Pharaoh's meridian. Calculation high center locations. Half man, half bird. Okay, done. See how that comes into Pharaoh's? It's location travel settings and tooth. Tooth and teeth line rotation center position location line center high position to its operation. Travel direction of time sequence. Put patterns. Direction of time sequence location of pattern communications. All levels of the hieroglyphic location of channel settings. Its position of track lines and high calculation to all levels of measure. Now, scaling position line condition setting, but it's very powerful how you set location of tooth and communication. All right. Chris is going, wow. So you have to really stand. You have to really stand how the matrix has to be set up in all lines of space and time through colorations of space and time settings. When it comes into all correlation, time sequence, time patterns, into your mechanism location, your chakras, and mechanism location of travels in space, time, anomaly. It's that location. Okay. Yeah, walk like an Egyptian. Okay, so line condition 1 screen line, directing communications. All right, so you got 4 box line calculations. Okay, 3 lines of calculation setting attractions. All right. 1 indicates 2 security panels. Okay, directing panel communications. 1 block center opens all signals and communication and travel settings. Okay. So it comes into platforms of communication and all laws of indication. It's that location. Okay. So in that mechanism line interference, we take the 2 panels, operate the signal location settings, changes communication crosses line calculation setting and traction. Okay. Mechanism high power, direction time sequence, point system of direct signals in set location. Okay. Crossing lines anomalies and 2 patterns in line rotation. Setting lines of new grounds. Center communication to matrix line communication string location centers and point system of direct signal and set location line system of face recognition. Done by equation. All right, so that's done. So questions or comments will be after location on Zoom setting. So we got bracket communication of point systems and attractions, right? Hanger line connection of 7. 7 indicates of 2 panels, so it's line calculations streamlines. Now, that's an arrow indicating travel communication of space line and travel direction of time sequence location of pi. Okay, that's aerodynamics and calculation lines of schematics over calculation of biometrics. Streaming calculation of line sending calculation high interference of travels. Position your system as solar calculation sending location system of the moon in set position travel calculation stream locations. Okay, see the moon? All right. So we all understand how to use the equation line screens. Now, this is where it comes into the red line stream locations and levels of its moon, colorate the calculation line settings, sets time parameters, line interference of 24 box line rotation surface, and triangulation of reset position locations to new metric line calculations to a tether, and set position of its operation surface, and triangulation of reset position programs, and calculation modification line centers, a space anomaly, and track location. We are done through equation. Okay. So, setting track lines, we come into the goal line cycles. Center position location of the sun and the moon sets line communication travel lines of projection and all calculations of matrix screens and direct signal. Now we're done. Complete cycles application. All right. That's it. Hope everybody had fun in position location of travel settings. Know exactly where we're coming into lines. We're coming in the matrix location of TV receptor and line communications and perceptions over pi. Understand how to use your holographic set location line system in all travels of communications. All right. See you in 5. Adios.